Hey guys, Ken Smith Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, messy office. Oh well. So before we get to more fishing, not catching, from Richmond Chambers, I had a great question, and I didn't think to ask this question when I was with Tom Lane from the Freshwater Fisheries Center with Texas Park and Wildlife in Athens the other day. And the question was, and I apologize now, I can't remember even who asked me, but the question was, what happens to the fish that go into the ShareLunker program? So what I asked Tom was, I said, if a fish is donated, is it returned to the lake ever? And if so, is it returned to the original lake? And same question if it's a loan fish. So remember, you can donate your fish to ShareLunker or you can loan the fish. I said, same question on loans fish. And then if it is it the angler who determines if the fish goes back in the lake it was caught of, or what lake? And then how do they get back to the same lake? I was wondering, I assume they use kind of the same treatment to get them back because they want to keep those fish alive. And Tom answered me, and here's his question. He said, gosh, what a dumb question. Actually, he said, great question. He said, if a fish is loaned, we take it back to the lake it came from after attempting to spawn it. We try to coordinate and meet the angler so they can release it wherever they like in the lake. So they'll go to that lake and let him release it wherever he wants to, he or she, excuse me. There's been a lot of female ShareLunkers in that lake. If the fish is donated, meaning you give it to, we do often return it to the lake it came from. In fact, last year we returned all fish after attempting to spawn to the lakes they came from, regardless of being loaned or donated. We usually use ShareLunker truck to return the fish, but we've also used other hatchery trucks or even a full hatchery trailer. Last 3 seasons, we actually used a full hatchery trailer when returning fish to Ivy because of the sheer number of fish they were taking back to Ivy. So that's the answer to that question. He also, we had a brief conversation that I thought I captured on film that we didn't. And I recalled that I thought they had not taken some fish from the lake when they got there with the ShareLunker. And he confirmed that last year there was one, and that fish had been caught deep, and he called that the depth sickness that fish has. They tried to save the fish. They were afraid that taking the fish was going to cause the fish to pass away. So the decision was to release the fish. And I think, if I remember right, he told me the fish actually eventually passed at the lake it was caught at anyway. But there's a lot of talk on some forums about catching these fish out of Ivy deep and these fish not surviving. I think this proves if the fish are handled properly, 2 hands in the water all the time. My rule of thumb, anytime I catch a fish, big fish, small fish, or whatever, is I don't want them out of the water longer than I can hold my breath, which is about 45 seconds. So doing all this, if I'm going to hold them up and take pictures, I try to put them in the live well or back in the water while we're doing whatever we're doing to take pictures or shoot video. And I don't take a lot of pictures because I shoot video on most of my stuff, but I think that's probably a pretty good rule of thumb. Don't keep those fish out of water for a long time because they can't breathe air, right? They got to be in the water. So, but I also know, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody else I know caught a ShareLunker, a 13 plus, a few years ago. I remember now who it was, it doesn't matter. But they came and looked at that fish, and that fish was at a point where they were afraid to transport that fish. If I recall right, they released that fish back in the lake, and that fish survived. So there you go. That's the answer to that question. Now, back to Richmond Chambers. There's a reason they call it fishing and not catching. And I'm going to show you what we did on the rest of this tournament, and then I'll come back and give you a close. Day 2, still windy, other direction. Here we go. whole little group of baby foxes up there. I don't know if y'all can see those or not. I see 5, there's 6. They're just down here playing in somebody's yard. That is too cool. That iPhone shoots crazy good pictures. Uh-oh. Somebody's after somebody. I am truly species challenged on this lake. It's unbelievable. Species challenge, man. I know as my old friend Trent used to say when I got my little baits out, he'd say, when you lay down with dogs, you get fleas, but I'm just trying to catch a damn bass. You've got to be kidding me. Deep brush pile, dirt bait, big old crappie. Yeah, please. Well, he bit it the first time I dropped it. I think it's just a stump, just on a point, a little main lake point, a stump out there in about 10, 11 feet of water. No giant, but it's the right kind. Oh, he is digging too. Goodness gracious, he's digging. Don't trust that little light leader. Top 3. Got my sinker. Well, at least it's a bite. So I'm going to get kind of freaked out about it. Been talking to Terry, he's struggling too. You know, this is one of those challenging tournaments where you kind of don't want to go beat on your best stuff, but at one point you're just like, man, I need a bite. But we both got a lot of years here, so at this point we're probably just going to fish the stuff we know. But you can't help continuing to look. There's a bunch of those little stumps out here. I'm gonna fish around out here a little bit more.
That is seriously bow heavy right there. We've been talking about that on video. He got so much weight in the front of his boat with all those curls that he can't even get to fight with his jets. That's pretty funny.
Okay, so we're not on anything, but we fished 2 pretty rough condition days. We both know the lake. Terry knows it way better than I do, and I'm really comfortable on the lake. We've got a lot of history on the lake, and even though they whacked them down there the other day, 2 weeks ago, Terry caught quite a few fish that day. They were whacking them, kind of staying out of the way. So we're, as Dickie Newberry says, you can't win if you don't enter. So we're going to fish the Texas Team Trail this weekend. We'll have tournament footage for you guys. We should get to practice Friday. We already paid our entry fee. So even though we didn't do much in practice, we're going to keep trying. So also, thank you so much. I got a lot of response on my rig that I throw that big trace with. Again, I've got links below now to my 6 cents baits. And again, when you buy through those links, they support me monetarily. They help me put on the videos I do, not just the fishing videos, but the other content, the boat search videos, all the big fish videos, the tracking videos, all those other videos. If it weren't for my sponsors, I couldn't do those, and they wouldn't sponsor me if it weren't for you guys. So thanks for using those links. Same way with the Tackle Warehouse link. Anything that's not 6 cents that you want that I talk about in videos, and Vizex, Cigar line, the Tatsu line, braid, all the hooks I use pretty much come from Tackle Warehouse. I use a few 6 cents hooks, but I always show you what hooks I'm using. So anytime you guys shop through 6 cent, Tackle Warehouse, or Jones Trolling Motor, and let them know, Jones Marine Electronics now, then they support me, and I really appreciate that, and will help me keep putting out content that you guys, for some strange reason, seem to enjoy. So Chambers this weekend. Hopefully we'll have some fish catch footage going next week, and this is one of those, as crazy as it sounds, usually when we go into a tournament, it's like we're going to catch them or we're not going to catch them. I think there's just as good a chance we catch something in the high 20s as there is that we catch one fish. When we're going to only focus on places that we know historically big ones live, we're not going hunting. And I actually have a good feeling about this weekend. It's pretty much post-spawn, and we'll see what happens. So stick around. Hopefully we'll have maybe a tournament win for y'all next week. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all. Well, we'll see you on Chambers this weekend. If you're there, say hello. We'll be in Terry's Phoenix, which is a dark colored Phoenix with power poles, because he's got way more waypoints on that lake than I do. So we'll be in the Phoenix. Thanks, guys.